The palace of the Star Empire floated above a shining blue world. It was made of crystal metal and light, older than many suns. Inside, silence ruled, heavy and strict, just like the queen herself. Queen Arilla sat on her high throne, watching the grand hall fill with nobles. Their long robes glowed with family colors. Their eyes were sharp, proud, and full of old belief. Today was meant to be a day of honor. The princess was returning home after many years beyond the stars. The queen's fingers rested on the arm of the throne. She had ruled for centuries. She believed in order, tradition, and bloodlines. The royal family was not meant to mix with lesser races. That rule had never been broken. A royal guard stepped forward and struck the floor with his staff. The sound echoed across the hall. "The princess arrives," he announced. The doors opened wide, light from the outside poured in. The princess walked forward with calm steps. She wore travel armor instead of royal silk. Her face showed confidence, not fear. But she was not alone. Whispers spread fast. A figure walked beside her, shorter than most aliens, soft skin, no glowing eyes, no armor of rank. A human. The hall exploded with noise. Some nobles stood in anger. Others stared in shock. A few laughed in disbelief. The queen's eyes narrowed. Her body grew tense. A human inside the sacred palace was forbidden. Humans were weak, short-lived, and noisy. They were useful only as traders or workers at the edge of space. Never guests, never family. The princess stopped before the throne and bowed. "I return as ordered," she said. The queen did not answer right away. Her gaze locked onto the human. "Why is that creature here?" the queen asked coldly. The princess straightened. Her voice was steady. "He is with me." The queen rose from her throne. Her height and presence filled the hall. "You bring a human before your queen," she said. "Explain yourself." The human stepped forward slowly. Guards moved at once, weapons raised. He stopped and raised his hands. "I mean no harm," he said. His voice was calm, too calm for someone facing death. The queen ignored him and looked back at her daughter. "You were sent to negotiate borders," she said, "not to collect pets." The princess took a breath. "He is not a pet," she said. "He is my husband." Silence fell like a broken world. The words did not seem real. Some nobles thought they heard wrong. Others felt anger burn through them. The queen stared at her daughter. Her mind refused to accept it. "You speak madness," the queen said. "I speak truth," the princess replied. The queen's voice grew sharp. "You claim royal blood joined with human blood," she said. "That is impossible." "It already happened," the princess said. The queen turned to the guards. "Seize the human," she ordered. Weapons moved closer. The human did not resist. He only looked at the princess. "It is fine," he said quietly. The princess stepped forward. "No," she said. "If you touch him, you judge me as well." Gasps filled the hall. The queen clenched her hands. "You test my patience," she said. "Why would a princess shame her blood this way?" The princess met her gaze. "Because he saved my life," she said, "and many others." Some nobles laughed. "A human saving royalty," one said. "Impossible." The queen raised a hand. Silence returned. "You will explain," the queen said. "Every detail." The princess nodded. She spoke of a distant system, of a mission gone wrong, of betrayal by allies, of her fleet destroyed in fire. She spoke of drifting alone, her ship damaged, her guards dead. Then she spoke of a small human vessel that found her. "It had no weapons," she said. "Only signals of help." The nobles listened, some with doubt, others with interest. "He repaired my ship," the princess continued. "He shared his food. He defended me against pirates with nothing but skill and courage." The queen's face did not change. "Many would do so for reward," she said. "He refused reward," the princess said. "He asked only that I live." The queen looked at the human. "What is your name?" she demanded. "Eli," he replied. "A simple name," a noble mocked. The queen ignored the comment. "Why marry her?" the queen asked. "Power, protection, wealth." Eli shook his head. "None of that," he said. "I married her because she chose me, and I chose her." The hall erupted again. The queen raised her voice. "You believe choice matters more than law," she said. "Yes," Eli replied, "that is what humans believe." The queen stepped down from her throne. Each step echoed. "You bring human belief into my empire," she said. "You stand alive only because you interest me." She turned to the nobles. "This marriage is not recognized," she declared. "By ancient law it is a crime." The princess's face remained calm, but her hands trembled. "What is the punishment?" she asked. The queen's eyes burned. "Death," she said. Shouts followed. Some nobles cheered. Others looked uneasy. The queen raised her hand again. "But," she said, "our laws demand judgment, not chaos." She pointed at Eli. "The human will face trial." Guards moved in and restrained him. Still, he did not struggle. The princess moved closer. "I stand with him," she said. The queen looked at her daughter for a long moment. "Then you risk everything," she said. Eli was taken away. As he left the hall, he turned once more to look at the princess. He smiled. That smile disturbed many. The queen returned to her throne. Her thoughts were heavy. Humans were not meant to stand like this. They were not meant to speak with such calm. They were not meant to look unafraid. She announced the trial would begin at the next rising of the star. As the hall emptied, whispers followed. Some spoke of punishment, some of rebellion, some of change. In a dark corridor, unseen eyes watched the human being led away. Plans were already forming. The empire believed humans were weak. Soon, it would learn how wrong it was. The trial hall was massive, shaped like a crescent of stars in crystal. Light bounced off the walls in rainbow shades. Nobles arrived from all corners of the empire. Every seat was filled. Every eye watched the human, Eli, and the princess, Alara, as they entered. The queen sat on her throne, taller than before, her expression sharp. She had waited many centuries for a day like this, when law and blood would decide the fate of the empire. Today, she would see if tradition could crush defiance. "Begin the trial," she commanded. The nobles rose in respect, some murmuring. The judges took their seats. Their robes shimmered with authority. All eyes turned to the human. Eli stood calm. He wore no armor, no colors of rank, only simple clothing. His eyes met each noble with quiet strength. Some guards shifted nervously. They had not seen a human like this before. He seemed unbroken, even facing death. "Human," the queen began. "You claim to marry my daughter. You stand before us as her equal. How do you defend your actions?" Eli spoke without hesitation. "I married her because she asked me, and because I love her," he said. "I am nothing more, nothing less." A judge laughed. "Love," he said. "Love does not save you. Love does not give strength. You stand weak yet proud." Eli nodded slightly. "I am weak in body," he admitted. "But strong in mind, strong in choice, strong in courage, that is what humans have." Some nobles whispered to each other, "Courage, strong mind." It sounded foreign and dangerous. The princess watched him, her eyes shining. She knew the truth of his words. The queen raised a hand. "Very well," she said. "The first test will be of intelligence. Solve the riddle of the ancient vault. Only then will we see if a human can match royal blood." The vault appeared in the center of the hall. A glowing barrier surrounded it. Symbols and locks covered its surface. Many royal experts had tried before. None had succeeded. Eli approached. He studied the symbols quietly, tracing patterns with his fingers. The crowd murmured. Could a human understand alien logic? Minutes passed. Some nobles scoffed. Some watched in disbelief. Then Eli began to move. He pressed certain symbols in a careful sequence. He stepped back. The barrier hummed. Lights shifted. Slowly, the vault opened. Gasps filled the hall. A human had opened the ancient vault. Nobles whispered, shock on every face. Even the judges were silent. The queen's face remained cold, but her eyes showed the faintest flicker of doubt. "Impossible," a noble muttered. "Do not celebrate yet," the queen said. "The next test is of loyalty. You will face danger and choose." Immediately, an alarm blared. Smoke filled the trial hall. A group of palace guards appeared, acting as if the vault had exploded. Panic seemed to rise. The princess looked at Eli. She knew the ruse. Someone had planned this attack to make him fail. Eli acted. He shielded Alara, pushing her to the side as the smoke thickened. Guards tried to stop him, but he moved with agility and calm precision. He guided the princess to safety. They both emerged from the smoke, unharmed. The hall went silent. A few nobles whispered, "Is he superhuman?" The queen's voice cut through the hall. "You saved her," she said. "Yet you are still human." "How?" Eli looked at her. "Because saving life is more important than proving strength," he said. "A choice humans make, often when others cannot." Some judges nodded slightly. Some nobles frowned. This was not the law. This was a lesson in humility. Meanwhile, in the shadows, a noble named Varin whispered to a companion. He had always wanted power, and he had planned for this moment. "We will remove him before dawn," Varin said. "Even the queen cannot save him from our trap." The princess sensed danger but kept calm. Eli did not seem concerned. He had always trusted instinct over fear. The queen raised her hand again. "Enough for today," she said. "The final judgment will come at sunrise. The human will remain in custody until then." Eli allowed himself to be led away. He looked back once at Alara. Her eyes met his, full of trust and promise. That night, whispers ran through the palace. Some nobles questioned the old ways. Some feared the change Eli represented. Others began to see that humans might be more than myths. Outside, the twin moons of the planet shone. Light reflected on the palace spires. Eli sat in his small cell, quiet but alert. He listened. He sensed movement. He knew someone was planning an attack. He smiled faintly. The Empire believed humans were weak. It had not yet learned the strength that came from courage, choice, and heart. By dawn, everything would change. The trial had only begun, but the seeds of doubt had already been planted. The queen herself would have to face what she had never believed possible, that a human could challenge tradition and survive. Dawn arrived over the Crystal City. The sun reflected on towers and bridges, painting the empire in gold and silver. Inside the palace, the air was thick with tension. Every noble and judge prepared for the final day of judgment. Some spoke quietly, some waited in silence, all wondering what the human would do next. Eli sat in his cell. He had slept little. He knew the eyes of the Empire were upon him. He also knew the princess, Alara, had faith in him. That faith gave him strength. The queen arrived at the trial hall. Her presence commanded attention. She had watched the human for days, expecting weakness, expecting fear. Yet she saw none, only calm determination. That disturbed her more than she admitted. "Bring him," she commanded. Eli entered the hall. He walked without hesitation. Some guards looked uneasy, others confused. Even the queen herself could not hide the flicker of respect in her eyes. "You have passed the first tests," the queen said. "But the Empire seeks more than courage or intelligence. We demand truth. Human, reveal your past. Who are you really?" Eli lifted his chin. He spoke simply but with honesty. "I am from a human colony destroyed by war. I was a soldier. I survived when my world fell. I learned to trust only those who choose life over power. That is why I married the princess. She saw me not as a weapon or a prize, but as a companion." Whispers ran through the hall. Few could understand human culture. Fewer understood that choice could matter more than bloodlines or titles. The queen leaned forward. Her voice was sharp. "Your story may be true, yet loyalty must be tested. You were not alone during your time in space. Did you conspire with others? Did humans secretly aid our empire in the past?" Eli shook his head. "Humans act for survival and honor, not conquest," he said. "Some have helped your empire unknowingly. Others could not. I acted alone, as I always have." A noble whispered to another, "Could it be true? Humans helping us?" Varin, the plotting noble, tightened his hands around a dagger hidden beneath his cloak. He had waited for this moment. If the trial ended in favor of the human, his chance for power would vanish. He planned to strike before the queen could decide. Eli sensed movement in the shadows but did not flinch. He had learned to read danger in the quietest signs. He whispered to Alara, "Stay close, no matter what happens." The queen raised her voice. "You have impressed with courage and truth, yet the Empire must see one final act. Will your loyalty to the princess hold if your life is at stake?" Suddenly, alarms blared. Smoke filled the hall. It was not a test this time. Varin and a small group of conspirators moved forward with weapons. Their aim was clear: kill the human and blame the chaos on failure of judgment. Eli acted instantly. He grabbed Alara's hand and pulled her behind a marble pillar. Guards struggled with the conspirators. Eli used the chaos to move with speed, dodging strikes. His calm assessment allowed him to guide Alara to safety. Varin lunged at him, dagger ready. Eli caught the wrist, twisting it so the dagger fell. He left Varin unconscious on the floor. The hall was filled with smoke and confusion. Nobles screamed. Guards tried to restore order. The queen herself looked shocked at the human skill. He had defended himself and the princess without killing unnecessarily, proving both intelligence and restraint. Eli whispered to Alara, "Trust me." Together they moved forward. Eli confronted Varin and the remaining conspirators. They realized the human could not be easily defeated. Some surrendered. Others ran into the corridors defeated. The queen's voice finally rang through the chaos. "Enough," she shouted. "The plot is exposed. The human's loyalty is proven. His courage cannot be denied." Some nobles bowed in acknowledgement, some still resisted internally. Change was difficult. Tradition ran deep. Alara stepped forward, holding Eli's hand. "You see, Mother," she said, "he is not just a human. He is someone who values life and truth. He is my choice." The queen's face softened slightly. She remembered her own choices, long ago. Choices that led to strength but also isolation. Could she allow her daughter to follow a different path? Could she admit that humans might have worth beyond what she believed? "By ancient law," she said slowly, "a life that chooses the safety of another over its own proves worthiness. Perhaps the Empire has misjudged strength all these years." A murmur ran through the hall. Nobles exchanged glances. This was new, revolutionary. Varin was led away, defeated. The plotters were arrested. The hall was cleaned of chaos, but the lesson remained. Humans could survive, could protect, and could challenge the very foundation of the Empire. The queen returned to her throne, her mind full of conflict. The princess and Eli stood together, side by side. They were not just a couple. They were a statement, a new idea, a challenge to old beliefs. The Empire had seen courage, intelligence, and loyalty in a human, and even a queen who ruled for centuries could not ignore it. Outside, the twin suns shone brighter. Light reflected off the crystal towers. The palace had survived chaos today. The Empire had witnessed something new. Change was coming, whether anyone was ready or not. Eli held Alara's hand, feeling the strength of her trust. The Empire might doubt humans, but he had already proven what mattered most: heart, choice, and courage. And tomorrow, the final judgment would decide if that proof could shape the future. The day began with tension that could be felt across the Empire. The trial hall was cleared and prepared for the final judgment. Every noble had arrived, their eyes filled with curiosity, fear, or skepticism. The queen took her throne, her face unreadable. She had seen courage, intelligence, and loyalty, but the final test would reveal the heart of the matter. Eli and Alara stood together. Their hands brushed, a quiet comfort in the storm of expectations. Eli had been tested in mind and courage. Now the Empire demanded proof of his soul. The queen spoke. "Human, your final test is loyalty. You will face a situation where one life must be chosen over another. If you choose wrongly, both will perish." A device appeared in the hall. It created a simulation of a collapsing starship. Inside the simulation were two figures. One resembled the princess, the other a child of the empire. The device allowed Eli to act, but each choice carried consequences. Eli studied the scene. The simulation was designed to confuse, to challenge instinct. Guards held their breath. Nobles leaned forward, watching. He stepped into the device. The air hummed. The figures collapsed toward danger. Without hesitation, Eli acted. He guided the princess figure to safety first. Then he used skill and quick thinking to save the child. The simulation ended. Both lives were unharmed. A murmur ran through the hall. The human had succeeded where many experts had failed. Even the queen's lips twitched in surprise. "Impossible," a noble whispered. "No outsider could survive this test." The queen's voice rang out. "You have chosen wisely, human. You have valued life over power and fear. That is a principle the empire has long forgotten." She turned to the plotting noble, Varin. "Your treachery has been exposed. You attempted to end a life because of hatred and ambition. You have failed. Justice will be served." Guards took Varin and his accomplices away. Their faces showed anger and disbelief. The empire watched, stunned by the turn of events. Alara stepped forward. "Mother, the human has proven himself. His heart and actions speak louder than tradition. Can you not see what the empire needs?" The queen's eyes softened, a rare vulnerability appearing. She had ruled for centuries, believing in blood and order. She had seen courage, loyalty, and intelligence in a human. Could she finally accept change? "The empire has grown strong by following law and tradition," the queen said. "Yet law without wisdom is empty. Tradition without heart is hollow. Perhaps we have been blind." She looked directly at Eli. "You have shown the strength of choice, the power of courage, and the value of loyalty. You have honored life, and in doing so you have changed the empire." Eli bowed respectfully. "I only acted as I would for anyone in need. I did not seek to change tradition, but I hope the empire can see that heart and courage are not limited by species." A quiet fell over the hall. Some nobles began to nod. Some whispered agreements. The idea of a human as a trusted member of the royal family was no longer unthinkable. The queen stood, her voice steady and commanding. "Let it be known across the empire. Loyalty, courage, and wisdom are the measures of worth. Species matters less than the actions of the heart. This human shall be recognized as worthy of the princess and of our trust." Alara embraced Eli, relief and joy on her face. The empire had witnessed a new way, a path toward unity and respect beyond old prejudices. Varin's defeat was complete. The conspirators were removed from positions of influence. The palace felt lighter, freer, as if centuries of rigid belief had been lifted in a single moment. Outside, the twin suns shone brightly. Light reflected on the towers of the palace, signaling a new dawn not only for the empire but for all its people. A day of change had arrived, sparked by a human who dared to love and act with courage. The queen returned to her throne, thoughtful but resolved. She had seen what the empire could become if heart and wisdom were valued above fear and old beliefs. The princess and Eli stood together, ready to guide the empire into an uncertain but promising future. For the first time in centuries, the palace was filled with hope. A new empire was rising, and humanity had its place among the stars. The empire's halls were calm, but the energy of change hung in the air. Word of the humans' courage and loyalty spread like wildfire. Nobles whispered in corridors, and citizens speculated in marketplaces. The air carried excitement, fear, and hope in equal measure. The queen had returned to her throne, thoughtful and quiet. Her mind replayed the events of the trial, the courage of Eli, the steadfast love of Alara, and the exposed treachery of Varin. For centuries, she had ruled with strict order, believing that strength meant control. But now she understood that strength could also mean heart, choice, and unity. Alara and Eli stood together in the palace gardens, their eyes on the city below. Ships from distant systems arrived, curious or cautious about the changes happening in the empire. Humans were no longer outsiders to be feared or underestimated. The queen summoned the nobles and citizens to the central plaza. She raised her hand, and silence fell. "My people," she said, "we have witnessed courage and loyalty beyond blood and species. Tradition has guided us for centuries, but tradition alone cannot protect us. Today, we honor those who act with heart and wisdom. Today, we embrace change." Applause rose, hesitant at first, then stronger. The people of the empire began to understand that the human standing beside the princess was more than an outsider. He was a symbol of what their society could become. Eli spoke to the crowd, his voice calm but clear. "I am no hero. I am a human like many who have survived, fought, and loved in distant worlds. The strength of humanity is not in weapons or power, but in courage, in choice, and in loyalty. We do not conquer with fear. We survive with heart." The people listened. Some were skeptical, but most felt a shift in the way they viewed the universe. The queen stepped forward beside the princess and Eli. "The empire has grown strong by tradition, but today we grow stronger through understanding," she said. "Let our alliances not only be of law and blood, but of trust and respect. Let us move forward together across the stars, united in purpose." Alara took Eli's hand. Together they looked at the assembled crowd. Some were curious, some cautious, some inspired. But all felt that something new was beginning. The queen announced that Alara would take on a new role, guiding the empire with wisdom and courage, with Eli by her side as a trusted partner. Technology, trade, and diplomacy would expand with humans and other races, forming bonds that the empire had never dared to imagine. Some factions resisted quietly, unwilling to accept change. Yet even they could not deny the courage of Eli, the strength of Alara, and the wisdom of the queen. Change was inevitable. As the sun set over the crystal towers, ships from distant systems returned, some to offer friendship, some to learn from the empire. The princess and her human husband watched together, their hands intertwined, knowing that their union had sparked something greater than themselves. The queen stepped back, observing her daughter and the human who had changed the empire. She understood that the future would not be ruled by fear or tradition alone. It would be guided by heart, courage, and wisdom. The empire had survived trials, conspiracies, and doubt. Now it faced a new era, an era where species did not define worth, where choice and loyalty determined respect, where humans could stand among the stars as equals, not outsiders. Alara smiled at Eli. "We did it," she said softly. Eli smiled back. "No, you did it. You showed the empire what matters." The twin suns dipped below the horizon, bathing the crystal city in golden light. The palace towers glimmered, reflecting hope across the empire. For the first time in centuries, the future felt bright, open, and full of possibilities. And as night fell, the people of the empire looked to the stars, wondering what new journeys awaited, knowing that humanity had found its place among them, not through conquest, but through courage, choice, and heart.